in 1988, a law was passed in Congress that did a handful of things. But the two big things that it did was, for the first time in history, it allowed women to access capital in their own name for commercial purposes. So imagine you're a woman, Ramon, and this is your business.
Wait,
Ramona.
Prior to
Ramona.
1988, that you could not even do that?
No, you would have to have a male co-signer 16 years of age or older. I want to expand. I want to whatever. I need capital to buy some equipment.
Yeah.
You go to your favorite bank that you've been doing business with for 20 years. P&L is beautiful. Your credit's fabulous. Sorry, Ramona. You cannot get a loan unless you have your 16-year-old son, your father, or your brother.
That makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
Just because he's a male?
Exactly.
Even though he's 16, he's not legal age, but he's still a male.
That is exactly right.
That is like caveman legislation.
Every state in the country had those banking laws on the books. You know, we were at one time a model for the rest of the world in terms of women's equality, even though we have so far to go. But we've made so much progress over the years, and now we're just going backwards.
Welcome to Mission Control. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Our guest, Fran Pastore, the founder and CEO of the Women's Business Development Council.
I grew up in a very patriarchal Italian family from Brooklyn, New York. My dad was the workhorse, multiple jobs, very entrepreneurial, took care of my mom and her sisters, and I saw the dependency on them. But fast forward, when I got married, had 2 small children, I immediately found myself divorced, living in Stamford, Connecticut, with very little job experience, a college degree, and a passion around women's equality. And what I learned prior to launching WBDC, when I was trying to figure out how am I going to support these kids, I found out that Connecticut was the only state in the country that did not have a resource to help women, in particular women, minority women, launch and scale small businesses. And so the thing about women's economic equality for me that made me want to help other women was that when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do back in 1995 to support these 2 children and take care of myself, was I did not want to be dependent on someone else for my future, for my lifestyle, for the life I wanted to lead, because I saw that happen as a child growing up, right? And then I had these 2 little girls, and their father taught me, despite the breakup in the marriage, their father taught me everything about feminism and wanted his daughters to be educated and not depend on anyone. I didn't want to get back on the train and go to Wall Street, which was where I had some job experience post-college. I worked for the New York Stock Exchange, actually.
And that's a male-dominated field. You probably were one of just a handful.
Yep, and there were experiences that I had there that made me want to leave because it was very sexist, misogynistic, and I would say borderline on sexual assault. But anyway, so the little backstory to that is that in 1988, a law was passed in Congress that did a handful of things. But the 2 big things that it did was, for the first time in history, it allowed women to access capital in their own name for commercial purposes. So imagine you're a woman, Ramon, and this is your business.
Wait,
Ramona.
Prior to 1988, that you could not even do that?
No, you would have to have a male co-signer the age of 16 years of age or older. And that's if you were Ramona and you had this fabulous marketing and branding business, and you decide, you know what, I want to expand, I want to whatever, I need capital to buy some equipment. You go to your favorite bank that you've been doing business with for 20 years. Your P&L is beautiful. Your credit's fabulous. Sorry, Ramona. You cannot get a loan unless you have your 16-year-old son your father or your
That
brother.
makes no sense.
That
Makes
is
no
insane.
sense.
Just because he's a male,
Exactly.
even though he's 16, he's not
Exactly.
legal age, but he's still a male.
That is exactly
That
right.
is like caveman
And
legislation.
every state in the country had those banking laws on the books.
Talk about draconian. Like I can't
Yes.
even.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, here's a little more. 1972, until 1972, a woman could not get a credit card, a car loan, or a mortgage without a male cosigner. And if you want to go back a few more decades,
we need like the bomb, like because my
right, you
mind
can't
just
believe it.
exploded.
Yeah, you can't believe it.
Yeah.
Boom. I can tell this story over and over and over again. No one, and when I tell it to bankers and people in the financial world, it's the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one more for you before I get back to the story about WBDC. The turn of the century. If a couple got divorced and there were children involved, the children automatically, first of all, the woman was property of her husband. Any earnings that she made, which wasn't customary at the time, became the assets of her husband. If they got divorced, the children automatically were given, the father automatically had custody. Think about this for a second. Why? Because a woman couldn't work. She had no skills. How was she going to support these children? So it was okay for the woman to go off and be destitute. The father got the children, remarried, went on with his life, and the woman was destitute. And so this
Almost being discarded.
exactly
in some ways.
just completely discarded. And it just, where we are today, we're still fighting those same battles. And let's not even get into the politics of what's happened in the last 12 months, right? Or the last 18 months. But when you think about economic
Meanwhile,
equality.
I know what you're referencing. I mean, all these programs are under attack.
Exactly. We were at one time a model for the rest of the world in terms of women's equality, even though we have so far to go. But we've made so much progress over the years, and now we're just going backwards.
How difficult was it to start it? Were you met with any resistance of like, we don't need this, or was there another organization that kind of held your hand through the process or helped you?
We all need mentors, and I had
Yeah.
some really fabulous mentors in those early days, and many of them are still in my life as mentors and friends, and some are colleagues. Was it difficult? I'm going to say it was not difficult because it was something new and exciting that nobody else was doing.
Literally blazing the trail.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and when you went to then Mayor Malloy, most recently Governor Malloy, when I went to him and asked for support from his office, when
He
I
was
went
mayor of Stamford
at
prior.
the time, yeah, exactly. It was, wow, this is interesting. This was not the food bank. It wasn't the homeless shelter. It was something where we were really providing an opportunity for economic growth.
Yes.
In, two women who it had never occurred to anybody that women needed this kind of support, guidance, and help. And so, fast forward, we started with a $125,000 grant and, 2 or 3 employees. Today we have an $8 million budget. Part of that is a multi-million-dollar 5-year grant fund. So we'll continue giving out these $10,000 grants. In fact, I believe it's next week that our grant cycle is opening up. So anybody listening, as long as you've been in business for 2 years in the state of Connecticut and you're in good standing, you could apply for a $10,000 grant.
Guys, if you enjoyed anything on the show today, found anything of value, we would appreciate it if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps us grow, helps us promote other businesses, and help us launch your brand.
Any success stories that stand out to you, like a business that came through your program?
Oh, there's so many. We have, in fact, next week we're doing a road show. We're going out with the lieutenant governor and some state legislators, and we're doing a road show to some of the businesses that accessed a grant 2 years ago at the start.
To see where they are now.
To see where they
kind
are
of thing?
today, yeah. So we have a kombucha manufacturer in Danbury. We have a candle manufacturer right here in Bridgeport. There are so many childcare businesses that had a nice infusion of, received a nice infusion of capital from us through the state. So we'll be visiting some of those. But we're mostly seeing a lot of females entering manufacturing. It's light manufacturing. Some of them don't even realize that it is manufacturing. So we're opening up those doors with the state for them to look at some of the new opportunities that are coming in from the state as well. It's an exciting time.
How would someone learn more? And is there anything upcoming that people might be able to sign up for?
Absolutely. So, like I said, it's www.ctwbdc.org. You send a generic email and it'll be responded to within 24 hours. But what is coming up is the grant program. We have $1 million from the state of Connecticut to disseminate in the form of $10,000 grants to women-owned businesses all over the state. And then we have an advocacy event at the state capitol every year. That's April 11th, so it's a few months away. But that attracts hundreds of women-owned businesses from all over the state. Legislators come to listen to what are the issues that women-owned businesses are facing in Connecticut and have real-life conversations with the people that are in positions of leadership that can really make decisions that could impact small businesses in our state.
Excellent. So one more time, the URL?
www.ctwbdc.org.
Everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.